So I'm adjusting my work surface here. Oh, I just messed up my table. And I'm adjusting my work surface. You can see my subject in the background, and I'm going to start painting in the foreground here. I'll try to zoom in a little on what I'm doing. Trying to paint aspens here. So my aspens are in the background. In the foreground is my paper. And we're going to try and do this now. So it's real easy to paint aspens. If you look at these guys, first of all, my paint's only been out for a couple minutes and it's starting to skin over a little bit. But it's pretty easy to paint aspens. The one on the left has a little curve to it. So first I go and I test and I see what kind of pattern I get, and I can see I'm not going to get a consistent long line. I don't want that, so maybe I'll tap a little bit with my and you can see now that the dots in this area right here are not one straight line, and that's easy for painting an aspen. So this little guy goes like this without any white paint at all, using the white from the paper. I just go up and make an aspen. And all I have to do is, if I want some black marks, pick up a little bit more paint, and I go and I drag across, not pushing too hard, and there's my aspen. And you can see that as it dries out a little, you pick up a little more paint, test it, and then you just barely touch and drag. That one I pushed a little harder. This one I won't, especially since aspens are more towards the top, are more white than they are towards the bottom. We'll flip it around here. Now these are like railroad tracks, okay? But again, you want to keep the distance equal, but remember that they taper towards the top. So see that? I messed up a little. It's kind of thicker at the bottom than at the top. Very easy to fix. Just take this, drag it a little more towards the bottom, widen it out. Lo and behold, then I just follow the curve here all the way up. There's my first aspen. Pull it across. The marks aren't always coming from the side. Make some in the middle here. That's victim number one on the left, as you see. Now number two, he's kind of craggy, and he's kind of got a little Y to him. And he also starts out like this. Now you can see how much paint I got on there, right? Could be in trouble already, but not really, because up we go. And then he kind of does this about halfway up, and the left trunk is actually darker than the right trunk. So I'm not going to, until this very end here, then it gets dark. You know what I'm talking about? The middle aspen there. So now we've got one we've painted. We want to kind of get him back to reality. We use a little of the black. Come back over here. Now we have to do our taper, and he actually gets pretty thin right here. Goes down to just a regular branch. I can adjust that later if I want to. If you look at this branch is actually, I'll go down here and get a little water. You can see the water. Let's just see what it looks like. Okay. Now this branch here that comes out of him is actually, it's white and gray. So we want to gray out the white a little bit. The black, I put some water in there to try to do that. Okay, if I can't, pretty simple. All I have to, and he kind of zigzags up here. So you can see my gray is kind of too black, no problem. We'll get out some white maybe later, or we'll just put in some water and take care of that. So now we have an aspen. He kind of looks like he's bulging right here. Alright, and this would be an excellent place to actually, if you wanted to, is to make just a second branch. And you know, aspens do all kinds of crazy stuff like this. So here's a second branch coming out of him, and lo and behold, it could actually just be an overlay, or if you want to put in some white here, you could actually make it a separate trunk. It's up to what you want to do. But so when you tap too hard, you get too much paint and it's black, and you can go over that with white later. So now we've got our second aspen here, and our third one, he's kind of a white one, so he's going to need just an outline. He's not going to really need a lot of black. Here's how we're going to do him. And because I'm left-handed, I should have started with him. He goes like this. He goes up like this. He's got a little crook in him. And then he bends. So when he bends, I bend. And up it goes, and it just disappears into this little tiny trunk. But because it's mostly white, I'm not going to do a lot of black and dragging. I'm going to do just tapping, okay? So he's kind of like this. Now again, keeping parallel with the tree itself. Okay, I made a mistake. Did I? Maybe not. Maybe not. It's an aspen. Who knows? Who knows what it's gone through? And nobody really knows. Was there an elk cleaning off his antlers, or what went on? Now what's really cool about this aspen is he's got a couple really interesting branches. The first one kind of goes like this. It goes up, then it curves down, and then it curves around. Boom. Okay? The second one kind of comes like this. It's a little wider, and it almost meets that first one. Got a little bit of hump in it, okay? I made it a little too straight. Now the third one is up here before it starts to bend, and it's pretty flat, and it's shadowed on the bottom. So it's shadowed on the bottom, got a little bit of, but on the top you just want to make an outline. And then finally, my paint is drying because the sun is very bright here. Right at this crook, there's another branch that comes out, and I got it a little too thick. But I want to show you a little technique I like. My paint's really, really dry. But in order to make these aspens look round, you just kind of curve and pull. Curve and pull. Curve and pull. Okay? And it helps if you have some paint, if you're not all dried out and all gloppy. So a little bit of paint, fresh paint. tap it, and then you make that curve. See that? Curve and pull. Now you give the roundness, the effect of roundness. And again, this guy wasn't that dark, so we're going to do him that way. Now maybe this guy here, he has all kinds of branches coming off him. So, how do you make a branch look like it comes from the front? Because you don't want everything to look like it comes from the side. You know, you don't want it like an Egyptian painting where everybody was facing sideways. This branch kind of comes out, curves up, and you pull lighter, lighter, lighter as you get going. So see that? That's actually the branch. It's right below the leaves on the left guy there. Okay. So there's a number of branches coming out of this guy. One appears to come from the back and out the side. So we would start it here. He goes up like this. He's got a little crook to him. Now you can see my branches are ultra thick, ultra thick. So what I'm going to do here is actually spin this to a point. So if I want to spin this to a point, there's actually a little branch right here that kind of comes out. Not enough paint. Get that point. Light, 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 light pressure. So I'm not liking this thickness, but it's nature, okay? So maybe I'll come back this way with it. Start my tip here. See how thick that is? So you might want to go to a thinner branch, okay? And then finally, there's this distinctive thing that aspens have whenever they have a branch. It's really cool. And actually, I'll draw it right here. But they seem, once a branch is gone, they seem to develop this eye around it. And I've seen this a lot of times. See the eyelid? I see that all over the place with these branches that they, on aspens. I've taken several pictures of them. And there you go. So that's how you paint aspens. They're a lot of fun. Maybe we can get some water on here and really dilute the hell out of this. Now, on this guy, the light is coming from the right. So I want to test. Okay, so it's still picked up a lot of the black there. No big deal. Get some more water. Thin it out. Test it. It's getting thinner, getting thinner, getting thinner. Squeeze some of the water out. Let's see what happens. The light's coming from the right. And I'm trying to gray it out a little to the left here. So I'm trying to gray it out a little to the left. Now, an easier way to do this would be just to mix it with the white. And then you can tell on your palette what color you have. So this is still pretty dark. There's a lot of black in there. Rinse it out, push the black out. Pick up some more of the grayish color, which is the diluted black. Keep trying. There. And now, see how the light's coming from the right? And you got yourself an aspen. Alright, you got to stop before you get to the edge, which I'm not doing. I'm not really paying attention. And I found that I can get a more consistent gray with just mixing water than I can with just mixing the white in. It seems like the white always wants to give me a different color. But even then, like I said, this branch here is kind of shaded towards the bottom. So you can see how you shade it. If you don't like that branch, start another one. There's another one right there. You can see how the black's coming out in it. So maybe take a little of that black off. Pick up a little more of the gray. And make yourself another branch where the water is coming from the top. The light is coming from the top. So I'm pushing too hard. Tap a little. Maybe get a little water out of there. Using that round curve. So for instance, this guy, maybe the light's coming from the right. Maybe. Just put my hand in my other. There you go. So you can do all kinds of fun things. For instance, yeah, my liner brush was too thick. Take this guy. Now another thing you can do here, because this dries so quickly, and the oils don't dry as quickly. So another thing you can do is you can actually start dropping in leaves and cover up your mistakes. So this guy here, he would be darker on the bottom. This guy here would be darker on the bottom. Alright. Kind of looks like he's too big for this tree. Kind of looks awful, right? So I just cover that all up with yellow. Make some yellow leaves. Now, see, make that branch come out towards you. Now just remember, everything's not sideways. How do you make something come towards you? Well, think of something like this. Start it in the middle, and you kind of don't see a lot of it. Kind of mess that one up. But the principle is pretty simple. A little water on the liner brush. Something coming towards you is going to have an angle where you don't see, like my hand, right? So something coming towards you might look like that. So it's coming towards me at the beginning, then maybe it goes away. But if it was really coming toward me, maybe it would just look like it went down. So here's one, and it went down towards me. Or it could grow that way towards me.